All right, let's talk about the silent digital guardian that's watching over your money right now as we speak.
I want you to think about something for a second. What if your bank actually had a brain? Not just a bunch of servers processing transactions, but a real intelligence that can see threats coming and act all on its own. While you were sleeping last night, somebody could have tried to steal your identity. Maybe they had your password, maybe even your birthday. But they failed. And not because some alarm went off, but because your bank's AI saw them coming before they could even hit enter. This is the new reality of banking, folks. The classic bank vault isn't made of steel anymore. It's this dynamic, constantly learning system that's built on something called behavioral intelligence. We are officially in the era of the AI defender. And in this explainer, we're going to go inside the machine, see exactly how it works, what it promises, and, what the hidden costs of all this protection really are. Okay, so let's dive right into our first big idea, the autonomous bank. And look, this isn't just about making computers faster. This is about AI systems that are no longer just tools we use. They're becoming autonomous actors that make their own decisions in the financial world.
So the core technology that makes all of this possible is called agentic AI. Now, this isn't your average algorithm that just spots patterns. No. Agentic AI can actually observe a situation, reason about what it should do, and then, this is the key part, it can act on its own. Think of it like this. It's the difference between a smoke detector that just beeps loudly and a full-on sprinkler system that actually puts out the fire by itself.
So how does an agentic AI think? Well, a lot of them use a framework called belief, desire, intention, or BDI for short. It's actually pretty straightforward. It starts with a belief. It sees some data, like a weird login attempt from a new country. Then comes the desire. It generates goals, like, I need to protect this account. From there, it forms an intention. It decides, okay, I'm going to block this transaction and send a notification to the real owner. And finally, it takes action. That whole cycle lets the AI think and respond all in the blink of an eye.
So, how does all that theory translate into real-world protection for you and me? Well, that brings us to the promise of the AI banker, where these autonomous systems are creating this incredibly powerful shield around our finances. For decades, right, security has always been based on what you know. A password, a PIN number, your mother's maiden name. The problem is, all of that stuff can be stolen. AI security is totally flipping the script. It's moving to a new model, one that's based on who you are. It's analyzing your unique behavioral patterns, creating a kind of identity that's almost impossible for anyone else to fake. And this digital fingerprint is made up of all these tiny subconscious habits you have. I'm talking about the exact angle you hold your phone, the rhythm and speed of your typing, even the jerkiness of how you move your mouse. A fraudster might have your password, sure, but if they don't have your unique human signature, the AI flags them instantly.
Now, protecting individual accounts is one thing, but the promise of AI gets even bigger. It's now being used to tackle these vast global criminal networks. It can literally visualize the entire financial mesh of the world to stop crime on a massive scale. Using some really cool tech like graph neural networks, which are designed specifically to understand complex relationships, these AI agents can see the entire big picture. They can spot criminal techniques like smurfing, which is where crooks break up huge sums of money into thousands of tiny transactions to fly under the radar. The AI traces all that money across a huge web of mule accounts and can freeze the entire network in milliseconds. That's a job that would be practically impossible for a team of human investigators. And what about the rise of deep fakes? This is a huge one. Criminals can now clone your voice or even your face to try and trick authentication systems. But here's where Agenix AI is fighting fire with fire. Using something called spectral analysis, it can actually hear tiny digital artifacts in a synthetic voice that are totally invisible to the human ear. And for video, it uses liveness detection, asking for random unscripted movements to prove it isn't just watching a pre-recorded video of you. But, and you knew there was a but, this incredible power, this almost all-knowing protection, it doesn't come for free. So now we have to talk about the other side of the coin, the peril, the hidden risks, and the really profound trade-offs we're all making for the sake of security. This statement right here really gets to the heart of the problem. For industries with heavy regulations, like finance, the way this AI is used is absolutely critical. The level of control over the data isn't just a nice feature, it's the line between operating legally and facing absolutely massive fines. And believe me, these risks are very, very real. Research into these agentic systems has turned up a pretty startling number. Nearly 78%,
Almost 4 out of 5 organizations have reported problems with data safety when using them. That huge number shows there's a serious gap between how powerful these tools are and our ability to actually control them.
So this brings us right to the surveillance dilemma. See, to detect a fraudster, the AI has to watch nearly everything, all the time. But what happens when you get caught in the false positive trap? When the AI decides your legitimate purchase on vacation is fraud and it locks you out of your own life? And when an autonomous AI messes up, who's accountable? The bank? The AI developer? The AI itself? These are the really uncomfortable questions that we're all having to face now.
This here highlights a really critical decision that banks have to make. Do they go with a cloud-based AI, which means sending all your sensitive data to some third-party company? Or do they invest in what's called on-premises AI, keeping all of it safe and sound in-house? This choice is absolutely crucial for your data privacy and really determines who has the ultimate control over your financial information. So, given how high the stakes are, how do we move forward? Well, that brings us to our final section, how we can actually build a trustworthy AI. We can't put this genie back in the bottle, so we have to develop really strong frameworks to manage these systems responsibly. So what's the path forward? Well, official guidance gives us a pretty clear framework. It's not enough to just build a cool AI and let it loose. You need rigorous testing in the real world. You need transparency so we know its limits. You need ongoing monitoring to watch for new risks. And you absolutely need a plan to update it or even shut it down if the risks become too great. And this all leads us to what might be the single most important principle here. In a world full of autonomous systems, human oversight is not optional. It is absolutely essential. We need people in the loop to review decisions, to step in when things go wrong, and to make sure these incredibly powerful tools are actually helping us, not hurting us. So at the end of the day, the AI Guardian is always on, building this digital fortress around our lives that requires constant, unending observation. The real question isn't whether the technology works. It does. The question we have to ask ourselves is, what are we willing to give up for the security it offers? How much of your privacy is a zero-fraud world actually worth? It's a question we're all going to have to answer, and probably a lot sooner than we think.